Welcome to Tarot Tech, the technical side of tarot and divination. My name is Stan Moray. I've been a reader for at least 30 years, and as far as I know, I'm the first and only person in the West Coast, if not the entire country, to use Scott Cunningham's system of divination called Stone Tarot, which uses actual crystals instead of cards for the divination reading. This series is going to give you everything that you need to know about tarot as a divination tool, how to read the cards, how to do spreads, and each clip will get into more and more of that on the technical and practical side, so that you can use divination as a practical tool for accessing your own inner wisdom in making effective choices and creating your reality more effectively. And on that note, here we go. What is divination? Divination comes from a Latin word where the root word means divine. So, for basic purposes, divination means knowledge from the divine or divine insight. Okay? How divination works is that it acts like a meditation, like a guided meditation almost, because instead of focusing on the everyday minutia of things that your conscious mind is focused on, going to work, figuring out what to make for dinner, the laundry list, who you got to make the phone calls, the shopping list, all these lists that we have in our lives keeps our conscious mind focused on the external that's right in front of us, that which we call reality. All right. Divination gives you a chance to shift your focus from that to the inner dialogue between you as the spirit and the divine creative force that's also dwelling at the subatomic level in the atoms and cells of your body. And the two of you have a dialogue of information that goes back and forth. And the mind acts as an interpreter to translate that into words, symbols, sounds, whatever the case may be, so you can relate it externally to other people, or you can relate it to yourself. All right? So, divination is knowledge from the divine, and it gives you an opportunity to understand and access the answers you already have to the questions that you have in your life, okay, in a practical way. Divination is not the same as fortune telling, okay? Fortune telling is for entertainment purposes. And I've had people argue with me about how this gypsy fortune teller, guy or girl, told them that they were going to do this, this, and this, and this, and it all came to pass. Well, the thing is, on a quantum level, there are 3,000 possible outcomes for any given situation, because there are 3,000 possible locations any particle can be at when you're looking at the one that's in front of you. Okay? When you're not looking at it, it can be in 3,000 possible other locations at the same time. Alright? They've actually photographed particles where one particle is there and there's a smudge of light off the other side, and they say it's a different particle, and then they realize through the calculations, no, it's the same particle. It's just that when you look at that particle, the possibilities collapse and reinforce the one you're looking at, and that becomes the manifestation of that interplay of energy and matter at the subatomic level. It's kind of complicated and hard to explain, but that's the basic gist of it. All right. So what does this mean as far as divination goes? Well, with fortune telling tries to predict the future. Chances are, if you believe in it strongly enough, like reading your horoscope in the newspaper, you're going to make that thing happen, because the subatomic world responds to your intention and to your thoughts. And since the subatomic or quantum world is the foundational basis of perceptual reality, then you experience what you expect, because you called it into manifestation. You called it into physical being. Okay? And you didn't know you had that ability, did you? Well, surprise. We're all psychic in some sense, and we're all magical in others, or miraculous, or call it whatever you want. Now, the whole point is that the best any psychic or reader can do is use their divination tool as a roadmap to show you what are the possible outcomes based on the trends of your decision-making process, you know, the way you decide things, of your lifestyle, and the choices that you've made up to this point, okay, of the reading. All that's taken in consideration when looking at where you're likely to go, provided you don't change anything. And again, it's like, it's a road map. If the road map tells you there's a bridge out 5 miles ahead, you have a choice. You can either continue on and hit the bridge being out, for whatever reason, or you can create a detour. If you create the detour, you never see the event that's predicted. Why? Because you never arrive at it. You've gone a different route. You made another choice. See? So it's all based on the power of your choices. All right? And since no one knows what you're going to choose from second to second, not even God, because that's why you're given free will, so that you can make your own independent decisions about your life, there's no way anybody can predict it. Again, the best they can do is counsel you on possible trends and outcomes based on those trends, but that's the extent of it, okay? So anybody tells you they can predict your future, no. All they can do is make suggestions on what you can do to create that future, and if you go along with it and believe it strong enough, you will create that manifestation. But if you realize that it's all up to your choice, then all bets are off, okay? So divination is not fortune telling. There is no way to predict your future. You choose, and you have the power to choose and decide what outcomes you experience and get involved in. For this purpose of this segment of demonstration, we're going to be using the Robin Wood Rider-Waite based deck. It's my personal favorite. I think it's very pretty, but some people, when they get a brand new deck, whether it's bought or whether it's gifted to them by somebody else, which is usually traditionally the best way to go, especially if you're going to be a reader. What the best thing to do is to get familiar with the deck. Start with the major arcana. Don't shuffle the deck. Take the book out, take the cards out, leaf through the book, get familiar with some of the basic ideas. Or if you don't want to prejudice yourself, just leave the book aside, and then just get yourself a piece of paper, a notepad, or a diary, or a journal, or something, and take the first deck from the card from the major arcana, and look at it in the morning, and write down what your impressions are. What do you think of when you look at these symbols? What kind of the images? What do they say to you personally? And then some people will carry the card in their pocket all day, and they'll periodically look at it, you know, because it's like going to a movie. If you see a movie the second time, you pick up on things you missed the first time. Well, the same idea applies here. So you would take a look at the card and go, oh, I didn't notice that before. And you keep doing that throughout the day. And then at night before you go to bed, you look at it one final time, and then you write at it, okay, this is what I've noticed now. And if you compare with the morning, you'll find out you've seen more, or you have seen something in a slightly different way. And you do that with each card in the deck until you run through the entire deck. Some people will take the card and put it under their pillow at night, sleep with it, with the idea that the energy of the symbols will kind of like in the process of osmosis will seep into their brains, and that they'll get some clarity and understanding of what that card means that way. Of course, when you're done with that card, before you go on to the next one, you can always look at the book, look at all the keywords that are in the interpretation, and see how they match up. You know, the keywords are not set in stone. You know, the booklet is not the absolute end-all, be-all for that deck. Yes, it may explain the symbols specifically with what the person who designed the deck had in mind, but they're not your symbols. They're not your filters. They're not your perceptions. So you need to know how it is perceivable to you personally. How do you relate or connect or establish a relationship with those symbols so that the energy that is connecting with means and interprets a certain thing for you. Okay? Some people also will take, like I said before, take a card and spend the whole day with that card just to get as much knowledge as they can. These are good methods for learning how to go through your deck and see what the cards mean for you. All right. What we're going to be doing is we're going to go one card at a time, starting with the Major Arcana, and we're going to be doing the Major Arcana with the Stone Tarot method, because the Stone Tarot is just the Major Arcana, and it'll be a picture of the stone and the card, and I'll be explaining the quantum definition of those. All right. Again, the deck is Robin Wood. Once we get into the Minor Arcana, it'll just be the cards themselves without the stones, because the Stone Tarot deck doesn't include the Minor Arcana for a couple of major reasons. And we will discuss, what the different suits represent in the Minor Arcana when we get to that point, and how you can use them to lock down a basic idea of time, movement, or season with whatever the predominance is based on the spread that you're doing. Now, I will caution you, if you're looking to do divination for yourself, the best form of divination is one that you cannot monkey. What I mean by that is you want a form of divination that's mainly yes or no. It doesn't give you a whole lot of choices to really throw your own spin or interpretation or bias in, which is why most people like myself and other readers will not read for ourselves. We will not set up a spread, and we will not lay cards out. Generally, we use either a pendulum or a white and a black stone, a yes-no sort of thing. Flip a coin. If for a while I used D&D percentile dice, I would roll 3 times asking the question, and then I would take the average of the rolls. And if the roll percentage was over a certain amount, that meant yes, and if it was under that amount, that meant no, don't go anywhere near it. Okay? But you can come up with your own system of divination. It could be as simple as flipping up your favorite coin, a special coin. That could be your divination tool. Dice could be a divination tool. Cards could be a divination tool, whether it's even, odd, red, black, whatever the case may be. There is a variety of different things that you can use. Pendulum is a good one because that works with your energy directly, with the swinging of the weight, whether it's a fancy weight or whether it's just something you make with a piece of string and something that's heavy that keeps the string tight. Heavy meaning like a bolt, a nail, whatever the case may be. On the other hand, if you use yes-no divination, you're less likely to miss important information that you might miss or ignore if you work with tarot and you decide to do a tarot reading for yourself. Now, if you're practicing how to do spreads, that's one thing, okay? But if you're looking for serious information, well, you might find that out depending on how clear and unbiased you can be, what's the word I'm looking for? How objective, that's it. How objective you can be when you're looking at the spread. Because you may look at something and may be going, you need to change something. And you may tell yourself, well, it's not that bad. It's not as bad as all that. Because, you look at it and your first reaction is, oh my God, I'm going to die. And then your brain goes, well, maybe I'm not going to die. Maybe I'm just going to feel really lousy. But you don't want to hear that because it's natural for people to look for the best outcome, the most positive outcome. So it's easy to miss subtle warnings that could make a big difference in the way things happen for you. So the best thing to do is to get a reading from a competent reader, one you trust, and go from there and get your advice from there. So on that note, let's get started with the Major Arcana.